my go-to always, it's like going to the gym, right? If you want to
Mhm.
get fit, you don't just go to the gym once in a while and think that like you're going to be jacked, right? The process of learning how to open and connect to your heart is an all day thing.
Mhm.
So for me, you talked about everybody, we're all trapped in our minds. Why?
Mhm.
That's what we've been taught,
Yeah.
right? Think about what we've done to boys, like don't feel anything, right?
Mhm.
And you wonder why the murderers and the rapists and the people that we're afraid of the most are men. Why? Because from the moment they're born, you're teaching a little boy that crying and feeling emotions is something that's cowardice. So now you're dehumanizing boys, right? And then you're also making women feel like when they feel, oh, you're so over dramatic and you're so crazy and you're so this and you're so that. Like the things that they've done to us is criminal, straight up. Okay? So what we've been taught is everything in our society is built so that you don't feel anything. Numb yourself, Netflix yourself, binge watch shows, go clubbing, go watch porn, go everything is designed. I mean, think about it. When we were in the pandemic, an essential that's open. So you're closing down half a grocery store. We can't walk around but the liquor store is open. Why? Numb away.
Yeah.
Numb, 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 right? And a lot of the clients that I work with, the first thing that they learn is how much you're trapped in your mind.
Welcome to the Bridge Podcast, a podcast featuring heart centered leaders, artists, healers, speakers, and creatives who are leading a new paradigm through their own personal embodiment. Join us to explore the evolution of humanity that we see happening on our planet and how the intersection of art and humanity may be the key to having a new experience on Earth, as we individually and collectively choose to align with a greater peace, unity, harmony, and unconditional love in our everyday lives. Together, we will explore inspiring, insightful, and healing conversations that tap us into the artist within, empower us to be the conscious creators of our reality, and amplify the world we want to see by coming home to our own divinity. Let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of the Bridge Podcast. I am so excited that you are here. I have been following this guest for only a couple of months on Instagram, and I have absolutely loved everything that I saw from her, and I knew I wanted to have her on the show. So when I asked her to come on and she was excited to do so, I was so looking forward to this conversation and so excited to share with you guys all of the magic that came through and getting to really hear more about the behind the scenes of her journey. So today, our guest is the incredible Ellie. In this episode, we talk about living from a higher consciousness, becoming heart centered beings, learning to open and connect to our heart, creating a safe space to feel what's suppressed and move through our shadows, boundaries as a form of self-love from power rather than fear, holding your vibrational frequency no matter where you are, and how to become the solution by embodying the vibration of what we want to see. We also discuss identifying the programs we are running, how to move through our triggers with responsibility and ease, no longer identifying with the shadow self and alchemizing it into authentic creation, triggers as a gift of transformation, the program of entitlement, how to move through judgment, and the power of doing your inner work and its role in shifting the world around us. Ellie Lee is a mystical coach of oneness at Masters of Self University, devoted to becoming the vibrational frequencies of oneness consciousness in every aspect of her beingness. With a soul's purpose to walk the path of oneness, she is among the many light warriors here to help birth and create the new earth. I'm so excited for you to hear this episode. We really went deep and this conversation was really powerful. I hope this conversation can be a powerful tool for you on your journey of self-transformation. Remember to have compassion for yourself and honor yourself right where you are. You're always doing the best you can with what you know, and it's exciting that as we learn, we get to do better. And every moment is a chance to start again. I love you, and you got this. Let's dive in. Welcome, Ellie, to the Bridge Podcast. I am so excited to have you here today and to have a conversation with you. You are so inspiring, and I have loved everything that I have ever seen from you. You're so authentic, you're so clear in how you share, and I just really want to know more about your journey and get to dive into some things behind the scenes from your life. And I want to know what made you who you are today. So thank you so much for coming to be on the bridge. I cannot wait to have this conversation, and I would love to start start off with passing it over to you and asking you a little bit about yourself. When did spirituality and, consciousness and everything start? When did that light turn on for you and kind of where were you before that?
Yeah.
Let us in.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's interesting. You and I spoke over Instagram DMs, but you don't get to feel the person truly until you're in person. And the moment you came on, I felt you. I was like, okay, this is gonna be cool. Like we're good. We're on the same vibe
I
here.
feel that. I feel that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, in a nutshell, I grew up very religious. Like
Mm,
I grew up very Christian in the church, and I had a very dogmatic religious mother. And so for me, I was forced from the get-go to this is what God is, this is what Jesus has done for you, and this is the truth, and there's nothing else, right? And
mm,
so growing up, there's been a lot of programming around anything psychic is the devil. I remember she wouldn't let me read Harry Potter because it was witchy and it was like black magic and it was all these things. So I was conditioned to believe that anything outside of the Christian religion was demonic and satanic, right? And so I always could tell and feel that my connection to Christianity wasn't true for me. But I
mm,
had to pretend. There was a lot of, I just had to like, no, Jesus did die and I'm going to heaven. But it was this constant shame and guilt and fear and all of that stuff, right? And so
mm,
I really suffered from a lot of depression growing up. Like even as a little kid, like
mm,
now I know like I'm a highly sensitive being and like I'm an empath and I had
yeah.
so many emotions as a child, but when we're not growing up in an enlightened world with enlightened parents who know how to nurture kids like us, right? I say us because I'm sure you're probably
Oh
sensitive.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
exactly.
yeah.
And so what they do, what does the world do to people like us, right? They tell us that we
Mhm.
have a mental illness and here's a pill and all of these things. And so at
Yeah.
16 years old, I was put on antidepressants, because I was
Mm,
so fucked up and I was like, I didn't know what was going on with me. And they're like, you have like manic this and all this stuff. So I was
mm,
put on pills, right?
right.
And so every year that I was on these pills, I was like, why isn't this helping me? Like, I'm still so messed up and I still
Mm,
don't know what's going on with me. And so it was years and years of just being dependent on these things. And I remember in my 20s, I used to go up to people and I'd be like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I feel like I'm floating and like I'm not grounded and I can't feel anything. It was almost as if I was dissociated from like my mental and emotional body and like even my physical body
yeah.
because I was going through this time period where I had gone through so much trauma with religion that I denounced God. I was like,
Mm,
none of that actually exists. And I'm
yeah.
just going to look to what the world tells me I should be, which is I started to chase like fame and notoriety. And I just wanted to be super successful in my career as an actress and like just wanted that because I thought,
You.
yeah, I thought
Yeah.
that
Okay.
was going to
Yeah.
be what I was here to do.
Right.
And so, even though I had a lot of success of being an on-camera personality, like I've been on MTV and E and VH1, I've done all these things.
Hmm.
Being in that industry too is a whole another level of sickness.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is dark on many levels. And I
Yeah.
had no idea. I was very blind to it. And so I moved from New York to LA when I was 31 because I had booked my first huge show that I was going to host in Los
Okay.
Angeles, right?
Hmm.
Signed the
Hmm.
contract, everything was set to
Yeah.
go. And I came to LA and everything got quiet. Like the
Mm,
contract for the show started to fall apart. The show started to fall apart. My manager started getting quiet. And it was the first time where I was in a new city and I was like, oh my God, like I'm spiraling. And
mm,
this felt like the rock bottom of all the rock bottoms. And when I was crying on my bedroom floor, I remember just being like, if something doesn't shift in my life, I can no longer exist and go on like this because it was just too
yeah.
much of my life just being in the swamps of all the
Right.
shit, right? And so I started doing inner child work
Mhm.
and I started doing inner child work and I was like, oh my God, like I
Yeah.
you have no idea until you start doing the work of how much your upbringing influenced you, how much your parents influenced you, like all of the
Mhm.
just the plethora of things, right? And so
Yes.
I started seeing angel numbers one day. I started seeing 1111 everywhere, and I had no idea what was going on with me, right? It
Mhm.
was to the point where I was like, am I going insane? And so I had to Google it because it's not like I had spiritual people in my
Don't
life,
we all?
right? Right. So I'm Google, I'm
Yeah.
like, why do I see 1111? And all of a sudden,
Yeah.
angel numbers started coming up, and I started
Mm,
diving deeper into that.
yeah.
And I was like, "Oh my god, I'm having a spiritual awakening." And so
Mm,
that at 32 was the beginning of that was the first initial awakening that I started to have
mm,
that, "Oh my god, everything that I've ever experienced, none
yeah.
of this is actually real," right? And like there's so much more that they haven't taught us and all the things that we've learned in school are
Mhm.
just shit to like distract us from what's actually truth. And then what is truth? What is
Mhm.
actual divine universal truth, and who are we, and where do we come from, and what is, so that's
Right.
when the journey of all that started to really begin.
Wow. Okay. I'm
Yeah.
so excited about all of this. I did not know that you had any experience in the industry of entertainment
Yeah.
arts because that's my background. I grew up as a dancer, actor,
No
singer.
way.
Yeah. So and the bridge for me, this podcast is actually kind of about bridging those worlds, bridging
Mm,
how do I embody and embrace this artist, this performer, this I
yeah.
love creating and I want to direct and I want to do so much.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like I could for a really long time
Hmm.
because it was so disconnected from what I was starting to learn,
Yes.
my spiritual awakening. And it was same here, a lot of dark stuff, a lot of like, I cannot go on
Hmm.
this way. Like, what do I need to do here? And I let it go for a really long time. And only now, in the recent kind of 6 months to a year, have I been really gently opening myself up to, no, wait, I actually can be
Yeah.
creative and expressive and be an artist, but from a new level of consciousness. So that's what this is about.
Yes.
The shift had to happen
Yes.
first to know who we are. So let's actually start right there. I would love to know from your perspective, if somebody is listening to this right now and they're like, what does that even mean, who we are? When we talk
Mm,
about being a spiritual being and a human experience, can you talk a little bit about that? Who are we? Why are we here from your point of view? And
yeah.
yeah, let's start there.
Yeah, so everything that I've learned, everything that I've studied over the past, going on 7 years, is that a lot of people think that we're humans having a spiritual experience. And
Right.
it's like the truth of who you are is not a human being, right? We
Mhm.
are divine souls. We are a fractal piece of Creator herself that came down here into this prison planet, which Earth is, right? Especially in this lifetime. Like the souls that are here in this lifetime, we didn't come to play. A lot of us volunteered to come here, right? To
Yeah.
awaken in a very unawakened world, right? And
Mhm.
that journey was not going to be fucking easy. It was not going to be just, oh, okay, we'll just do it. It's like the path of becoming and coming back to who you are
Yeah.
ain't no joke. Okay?
No.
This shit is not for the weak. It is not
No,
for the
it's not.
meek. This is for true warriors to be able to sift through because there is so much shit out there. Especially there's within spirituality, the matrices and all of the delusions and the distractions and all of the BS. There's so much in there too. And
Yeah.
you have to be so connected to your soul to be able to sift through because there is so much shit out there. Especially there's within spirituality, the matrices and all of the delusions and the distractions and all of the BS, there's so much in there too. And
Yeah.
you have to be so connected to your soul to be able to start energetically discerning what is actual fucking bullshit and what is
Mhm.
truth. Right. That's a journey that every soul must go on. And some people get really lost in it. Right. I've witnessed all kinds of stuff. I've been through all kinds of stuff. Right. And
Me
so
too. Mhm.
when I started to understand, like, okay, we're souls having this temporary human experience, right? And souls like you and I, we came here to do the damn thing and walk the path, okay? So when I started to understand that for real, I was like, okay, so what is this place? And this entire planet, right? Mother Earth is sick of it. She
Yeah.
cannot hold what we have done to her any longer, the vibrations. People,
Yeah.
it's that's why I think religion is so funny because all they jam us with this idea that heaven and hell exist and you don't want to go to hell except we have all created hell. This is
Yeah.
hell. To not look around and say this is the darkest thing I've ever experienced. Like
Mhm.
for me, I came into this life with an imprint in my soul where animals make me weep. Okay? Like
Mhm.
when I see any kind of abuse that has happened to any sentient being, I fall
Mhm.
apart, right?
Yeah.
What kind of world abuses a being that causes no harm to any other being? What
Yeah.
kind of world is that? Why do we live in a world where human trafficking and child trafficking, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
why is there war and genocide? Why are we raping women? Like, this place is fucking hell, and we all have to take responsibility on
Yeah.
how energetically we have contributed to this, right? Because when we
Oh,
are under the reign of
yeah.
patriarchy, sorry, that it's not Christmas. My dog is just it's just scratching himself. I got Lukey.
That's
So sorry,
perfect.
guys.
It's perfect.
But when we are under the reign of patriarchy and we're born in this upside down world, right?
Mm.
Where men are ruling, where men were never meant to be the rulers, right? Women are meant to be the rulers and men are meant to follow from the front. But everything is upside down, everything's twisted, right?
Mm.
And so of course we have all we've ever known is what patriarchy has shown us,
Yeah.
right? And so all of us energetically have stuff that we have to alchemize that
Mhm.
contributes to why the world that it is. For someone to
Yeah.
say, I don't do that, you do energetically in some way. And the
Mhm.
work is to go into all of that and look into all of that, right?
Mm.
And so when I started to understand all of that, I was like, okay, so it starts with me. It
Mhm.
ends with me, it starts with me. If I want more light in this world, I don't go around and go, okay, I'm light. No, I must become the light, right?
Yeah.
I must become that vibrational frequency, which
Yeah.
means I got to walk the talk for sure. And there's a lot of people who talk a lot, but you can feel them. They're not really doing the work, right?
Right.
And so that in a nutshell is like the beginning of everything. And I started to really understand like, whoa, this lifetime will be studied because this
Mhm.
is the final like Hail Mary. Like
Mhm.
we must get it right or this shit's gonna fall apart. Like
Mhm.
it cannot go any longer as the way that it's been for so long. It's too
Mm.
fucked up, right?
Yeah.
And so it is our responsibility to complete what we came here to complete in our individual journeys.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, period. That's where we start.
Yeah.
Um, and as you were saying that, we need to get it right. What came to me right away was how that's a moment to moment choice. A
Yes.
moment to moment, what would the truth do? What does unconditional love do about this? What
Yes.
does clarity do about this? What does unity choose here? It is moment to moment. I just wanted to like collapse any linear outside of myself kind of experience that one might have hearing that and bring it back to the body. It is about right now, what can you choose? And not to stress you out, but just to actually soften into what is my soul calling me to do right now? What's that alignment look like for me? So to become the light, I'd love to go into that even a little bit more because that's what this is about. Being the bridge is becoming the world you want to see, literally
Mhm.
embodying it
Yes.
fully in everything that you do. And that is not easy. And it's a continuous evolution and expansion. And so we can't not go into the depths, like you talked about a little bit. We have to go into the shadows. We have to take responsibility for what we're seeing. If
Yes.
anything outside of you triggers you, anything
Yes.
at all, you
Yes.
are partly responsible for that happening.
Yeah.
I know this may be triggering or controversial, but unless you feel peace about something, you don't have a lot of power to change it. And what I
Mhm.
mean by that is, it doesn't mean that I don't get angry and grieve and feel a ton of shit about things that I see, but I transmute that energy until I can see it in a way that I'm now becoming the solution and that I can be a vessel that God, universe, source can use to
Mhm.
contribute to the things that I'm meant to contribute to. And we don't have to take on everything by ourselves, of course. We have, our own unique ways of serving this planet, and we need to
Mhm.
listen for that and get to know our soul, like you were saying too. We need to really know ourselves so we don't get lost in the sauce.
Mhm.
Um, but that has been really helpful for me, finding a point of neutrality, which actually means I feel things more, but I just know how to ground and come back to center and then actually take action from that place and use that emotion, right? So, can you talk a little bit about shadow work, your journey of taking responsibility for things like that, and when you change your inner world, how it changes how you see and experience the world outside of you for anyone who's like, what?
Yeah.
Or just wants to deepen their practice in that too?
Yeah. Oh, this is a layered one. There's
I
so
know.
many layers to this. But I'll say
Yeah.
this. I spent the first 3 years of my journey like just walking around spirituality and being like, all
Mhm.
right, so I don't know anything and you guys seem to know something. So
Mhm.
let me take all of this and let me try all of it on, right?
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
became a very avid meditator and I was, doing my gratitude stuff and I was doing my affirmations and I was
Mhm.
doing EFT tapping and I was doing all of these things, right? And 3 years in, I was like, this is cute. I was like, but this isn't getting to the nitty gritty. Because
Yep.
why was I still showing up incredibly codependent relationships? Why was
Yeah.
I still raging in anger? Why was I still judging everybody? Why did I
Yeah.
still hate this existence, right?
Yes.
So I called to the universe and I said, listen, whoever and whatever is going to guide me on the highest timeline to actually heal, like
Right.
guide me, right?
Yep.
And so I then found my teacher, Rachel Fiore. And then since then,
Mm.
the evolution of me really began. And the core of what she is here to teach is first of all a lot of things in the spiritual world had to do with the mind, right?
Yeah.
So it was like heal through the mind, reprogram, and it doesn't mean that reprogram don't this is the thing too, right? When people listen to a lot of the things that I say, they go into duality. It's either this or that, right? So
Right.
you're saying that it's like, no, 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 that's not what I'm
No.
saying, right? But that's the world that we've been brought up in, right?
Right.
So everything is done through the mind. So I was sitting there and I was saying affirmations to myself that energetically I didn't actually feel. So, for example, right? If I'm sitting there and I'm running an energetic program that I feel worthless about myself, and I'm
Hmm.
sitting there, I'm going, I am worthy. First of all, I
Yeah.
don't believe that for shit.
Doesn't do nothing.
And
No.
energetically, I'm just locking that I feel actually worthless in when I'm
Yeah.
saying out of, because everything we speak, we're creating that, correct? Okay.
Right.
So it wasn't until she started teaching me, number one, we need to start connecting back to our hearts, right?
Right.
The calling is for us to become heart centered being, not mind centered being. That doesn't even make sense, right? And the connection to your heart is the connection to your soul. And so when I started learning how to open my heart, I realized, oh, I've been living my entire life disconnected and closed, right?
Right.
And of course, we all close. When no one's teaching us how to open and we're experiencing all this trauma and all the
Mhm.
fuckery of this world, we're gonna close. And we're all walking around like that, which means we're very disconnected from the truth of who we are,
Yeah.
right? So when I started to learn how to open my heart, then it was about what's triggering me.
Hmm.
And everything under the sun was triggering me, you know? And
Yep.
just like you said,
Yeah.
people think in the old world, when you get triggered, who am I to blame for this?
Right.
Because you're making me feel something that I don't want to feel. And instead, it's no, you're activating what's already inside of me.
Yep.
And then it is my responsibility to go the fuck in, right? So we need to start to understand that we aren't our shadow selves. We're the
Yep.
divine beings. But it doesn't mean that there's not the attachment and the identification to the shadow self, which
Yeah.
means we have to alchemize all the stuff that has created the shadow self that we think that that's us, correct?
Hmm.
So every single time the work for me is I'm triggered. What
Hmm.
programs am I running right now that are running rampant, that are creating my reality, right? So if I get triggered by something because somebody said something unloving, like for example, like I'm sure you experience this too, like you get attacked on TikTok or like Instagram, people don't like what you post, it's stirring their stuff up. So
Hmm.
I had this recently, like literally 2 days ago, where this guy that I used to be friends with, he gets very triggered by my videos, right? Because it's just bringing stuff up for him.
Hmm.
He doesn't understand that, oh, I just got triggered by what you said. Let me go into it. Let me take care of what just got activated in me. His
Hmm.
whole thing is let me destroy you and tear you down because I don't like what you're saying and what's making me feel, right?
Hmm.
That triggered me. And so
Hmm.
I had to go off and go, okay, what did it just bring up in me?
Yeah.
Right. It made me feel like I'm wrong. It made me feel like I'm stupid. It made me feel like nothing I say is correct. And
Mm.
then those programs, when they take over, all of a sudden I want to hide. I want to disappear. I don't ever
Yep.
want to post on social media. Right.
Yep.
Do the work. And how old are you right now? Who is that kid that's
Exactly.
in the inner child wound that feels like they're stupid and they're wrong and da da da, whatever, all that stuff? Be
Hmm.
with them, guide them back to their hearts. Let's
Right.
open and let's radically love the pain that's here and rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and
Hmm.
repeat. Till
Hmm.
one day the universe goes, here's another trigger of someone talking shit to you. Is it going to trigger you anymore? And you'll get to
Hmm.
feel what's left in there and what's not left in there. Right.
Yeah.
And so the
Yeah.
shadow work for me is every single time stuff comes up, let me
Hmm.
go off and let me go radically love and go
Hmm.
spend time with whoever is showing up for me. What inner child, what age that needs my attention, that needs my love? Where does she need my guidance?
Yeah.
Even the work that I do, it isn't about coddling your inner child and like being your inner child. It's like we're fucking adults, but we're all walking around like
Hmm.
really damaged children. Why? Because nobody taught us how to process anything when the stuff happened. So
Exactly.
that's just building up, and then we're showing up in the world as 5-year-olds. I mean, look at our president, like that's a little boy who learned how to be a narcissist and like all of these things. And so we have to take the time to really free those inner children that are so trapped at certain ages.
Mm. Yeah, this is the real stuff. And one thing with the inner child stuff, you said it really well. Every single time that we heal something or we bring that inner child back to its heart, back to connection with us, it really feels like for me, I enter a brand new reality every single
Yes,
time something
of
heals.
course.
More of
Yes.
me is there. That's what I wanted to say is
Yes.
it's easier to go into the depths when you know that you can only ever lose or let go of or shed what's not you.
Mm-hmm.
Period. The
Mm-hmm.
more shadow work you do, the more you release, the more of your true authentic self is actually naturally, effortlessly just going to be there, come through. You're going to be more in your heart because all of the programming is what keeps us in our heads. And when we are accessing that through the body, right, that is when all that programming can dissolve and transmute and basically return back to source, back to unconditional love. And then you're left as this purified vessel essentially to be free and liberated and in your heart. And we're unique. All of us are unique in that. And that's really helped me, especially through really dark seasons. If anybody resonates with that, to connect into what makes me feel like myself again, because I know it can be really heavy. So I'm just like dosing this in for a little sparkle here because we sometimes we need to like take a moment, take a pause and give ourselves like fill ourselves up, give ourselves that grounding, give ourselves that safety and create an environment or a space or find support that we can lean on to do this because it is very intense and doing it alone is very intense and we're not meant to do it alone really. So, what would you say to people who are wanting to start with that? Is there anything that you would recommend to start with and how to create safety for yourself if you've never really gone into the triggers and you've been used to blaming the world? Because I do notice that so much out in the world, less as I'm more healed, I see more of people, being like me or wanting to heal because now my heart is focused on that reality. And I believe that how we see people can also be massively of service to them. But when I see and hear people, blaming and shaming and judging, for those people who may be considering for the first time that they can take responsibility for themselves and for their feelings and not even really knowing where to start with that, how would you kind of invite a shadow work process that's maybe a little bit simple? You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my go-to always it's like going to the gym, right? If you want to
Mhm.
get fit, you don't just go to the gym once in a while and think that like you're going to be jacked, right? The process of learning how to open and connect to your heart is an all day thing. So for me, you talked about everybody, we're all trapped in our minds. Why?
Mhm.
That's what we've been taught,
Yeah.
right? Think about what we've done to boys, like don't feel anything, right? And
Mhm.
you wonder why the murderers and the rapists and the people that we're afraid of the most are men. Why? Because from the moment they're born, you're teaching a little boy that crying and feeling emotions is something that's cowardice. So now you're dehumanizing boys, right? And then you're also making women feel like when they feel, oh, you're so over dramatic and you're so crazy and you're so this and you're so that. Like the things that they've done to us is criminal, straight up. Okay? So what we've been taught is everything in our society is built so that you don't feel anything. Numb yourself, Netflix yourself, binge watch shows, go clubbing, go watch porn, go. Everything is designed. I mean, think about it. When we were in the pandemic, an essential that's open. So you're closing down half a grocery store. We can't walk around but the liquor store is open. Why? Numb away,
Yeah.
numb, numb, numb. Right. And a lot of the clients that I work with, the first thing that they learn is how much you're trapped in your mind.
Yeah.
People have done so many modalities, right? And it's
Mhm.
all about being in the mind, thinking, thinking, thinking. Your mind was never meant to be the driver of your life. And yet that's what we're all conditioned to be, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing that I would tell people is really learning how to start dropping in and connecting to your heart.
Yeah.
Okay. And people think like, what does that process look like? Breathe and start to feel the light within your heart. Really start connecting to that. And the moment you start going to your mind, oh, I'm in my mind. Look at that
Mhm.
batshit crazy thing. Let me drop back in.
Mhm.
The more you start to do this, when you pee, when you're pooping, when you're taking a shower, when you're at a red light, when you're walking your dog, open,
Mhm. Yeah.
open, open. Because
Soften.
in the opening, you can feel, oh my God, all I do is I'm closed. Like everybody is in survival, flight, fight, or freeze, all the constricted, closed, like all of it. And the work is from the moment you awaken, open,
Mhm.
open. And so that's where I would guide people, not in go
Mhm.
into your minds, go into your hearts and
Mhm.
start to feel what that feels like for you. Cause it could be different for so many people, right? The first time I dropped into my heart, I felt like, whoa, I feel a sense of calmness that I've never felt before, right?
Mhm.
Some people, when I guide them into their hearts, are like, there's so much pain. Yeah, there's so much pain that's been built up. But in the
Mhm.
opening, you're now feeling the pain that is asking for your love, right? Some people feel lighter. Some people feel whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever you feel that, connect to that, and start letting that start to grow and expand and emanate out of you. When
Mhm.
you're connected to that, everything that comes your way, now you have an anchor, right? So whatever pops into your life, oh, I can handle this. When you're disconnected, of course you can't handle anything. That's why people freak out. They're like, I can't handle this. It's too much. I don't want to look at it. Yeah, because you're disconnected. There's no
Yeah.
anchoring. You're in the Pacific Ocean and you're going, how do I do any of this? But what
Yeah.
if you had an anchor in the Pacific Ocean and you were so solidified in that? And then
Mhm.
whatever wave and tsunami comes, oh, I'm connected to my divinity. So let it come.
Yeah, I'm the ocean. Mhm.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That's such a beautiful and simple way to describe that for people to start. Just come into your heart, breathe. I was
Yes.
thinking about nature, be present and watch the trees. When I go for a
Yes.
walk, I can't just walk. I have to sit and meditate and enjoy nature because it's talking to me and I'm feeling everything. And that presence is the greatest teacher. You'll
Oh
find
yeah.
everything there because it's also what you are. You are nature,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
It's that oneness place, which is
Yes.
where I find that peace. And also the peace, the stillness, the ease, the joy, the love, unconditional love, like that is our natural state. Like you said, when you anchor into that and into who you are and you know that, it makes everything so much easier because one of the speakers that I love is Kyle Cease, and he talks so much about being the space. You're more the space than the shit moving through your body. And that has
Mm-hmm.
truly transformed my life to practice that over years.
Mm.
I have tons of stuff come up, and I'm very rarely get afraid or too triggered by it unless it's a story that's kind of closing that has been
Yeah.
there for a long time. It happens, but I know that I'm the space. And so I just listen to what my heart, what my soul is asking of me. And it might be to just lie in fetal position and cry and meditate. It might be to journal. It might be to go for a walk or dance to my favorite music. But that space, when we anchor into that and prioritize that, it's so much simpler than we make it. It's not
Yeah.
easy to do the work, but it gets to be easier when we have our eyes and our heart and we're centered, we're aligned with what is true. And I wanted to say, when you talked about the soul versus the mind, or you just mentioned the mind is not what's meant to lead our life. And what I learned through numerology was that the mind is meant to serve the soul. And it really made sense to me in the way that I learned about my own blueprint, my own energy, my own soul. And so, how would you encourage people to kind of explore what their soul blueprint is? Like to get to know your energy, your soul, your center, your heart versus the mind personalities that we've been so used to. um, how would you encourage people to kind of start to anchor into that identity of who you really are so it can help? What would you say to do
Yeah.
to lean into that?
So the first step into healing and transformation and evolution is awareness of self,
Hmm.
right? You must start becoming aware of how you show up in the world
Hmm.
versus how you think you show up, right?
Right.
So, no, we're not taught at all to be in stillness with ourselves, right? We're not taught at all to get quiet and make room for yourself and carve with yourself, just with you and your heart. We're not taught that. We're actually taught the opposite of all of that. Go, 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 hustle, 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 grind, 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 never stop, never stop. And then you wonder why we're all sick,
Right.
right? Because everything is designed to keep you so trapped in that stuff. So you
Mhm.
never actually evolve or elevate. Okay. So the first thing I would say, and the first thing that I guide all the clients through is it is time for us to become aware of all the stuff that we run on a
Mhm.
minute by minute basis because we are all riddled with inner child wounds and programming. And we think that we're not because we're so blind, dumb, and deaf to all of it. Right.
Mhm.
So it's this, so that's why it's this constant projection of all your stuff onto other people. Right.
Mhm.
People
Mhm.
are so not aware of what's running through them at every given moment. And you will run that stuff till you don't anymore. And when
Yeah.
you don't run that stuff, yeah, you're on the path of enlightenment. Like truly, you are probably an
Yeah.
enlightened being when you're not running stuff that is causing harm, that is unloving,
Yeah.
that is less than the truth of what we are.
Right.
Right. So we must take time for ourselves every single day to be with just us and to
Hmm.
really sit with. I think it's hilarious when I start working with people and they're like, I wasn't triggered today. It's like, no, you were just running a avoidance program, just avoiding yourself all day, right?
Wow.
Because
Yeah.
that's what we're conditioned to do. It's just
Mhm.
avoid, suppress, repress, push everything
Right.
away. I'm not dealing with it, all this stuff. And then I had this one client, she was so funny. She was like, I didn't get triggered this week. And I was like, okay, great. Right. I was like, so let's just talk about one moment during the
Yeah.
week where you felt a little bit of uncomfort. And she
Hmm.
was like, okay, well, if you want to talk about one moment, she was like, she starts telling the story about how she was on this plane with her baby and they had her nanny with her. And the nanny took the baby, and when she took the baby lit up, right? And like she could tell that the baby just loved being with the nanny. And she said when she saw the way that her baby lit up, it brought up all this stuff, and then she quickly just suppressed it, right? She's like, but it was nothing, because, and then this is what the mind does, right? The mind they starts running a
Right.
sabotage program of sabotaging what just came up for you when you saw that, right? So I just pointed that out to her. And I was like, now let's go deeper. So when you saw a baby light up with nanny,
Hmm.
let's go into what that brought up in you. And what we unpacked and like what we opened up to was a deep, deep sister wound that she had no idea that was there. Okay. So
Yeah.
this is what we all do. If we don't take the time out to just be with ourselves and to go
Mhm.
into what is that little thing that I keep pushing away? Or
Mhm.
what's that big thing that I don't want to look at?
Mhm.
People don't understand that is where your evolution awaits you.
Yeah.
It is through seeing, owning, opening, and loving all of that where you start to truly grow and transform and
Mhm.
evolve.
Mhm.
And that's too scary for people because everyone's so disconnected, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
the work I would say to anybody, it is time for you to carve out time for you and start to really go into all the uncomfortable stuff that you keep trying not to feel. And
Mhm.
stop doing it through your goddamn fucking mind. You got to feel,
Yeah.
feel, and then open to it. When you start doing that, now we're talking.
Yeah, and you know what? I love that we're ending on the note of emotions with this because we can't get anywhere if we don't feel. You
Yeah.
got to connect to your body, you got to connect to your heart, and
Yes.
everything is going to move through. And you said earlier, we're not our shadow self. And so to
No.
bring that back around when something feels really scary or really intense to go into, because listen, there's a spectrum. Some things are
Yes.
easier than others to sit
Of
with,
course.
go into.
Yes.
It is so important to feel safe when you're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, there's some things you may feel safe to do on your own, and other things you may want a space holder, a coach, a guide, somebody who's been through it who can help you
Yes.
hold that oneness frequency that you're safe. You're not this shadow, but this is affecting your body and it's gonna come up. You're gonna feel it. We're gonna move through it, but we're gonna guide through together, right? So whatever that looks like for you, I want to remind us that we are not our shadow self because it's also the thing we're most familiar with. Because again,
Mm-hmm.
we didn't grow up,
Yeah.
like you said, being taught what we are and
Mm-hmm.
being enlightened beings. And that's also a practice, that's a way of life. And you said it so beautifully when you're no longer running these programs, which are mostly in the unconscious, right? It's
Oh,
only
yeah.
when things come forward and
Yeah.
become conscious that then we can be that conscious creator of our life and live a life we prefer that's really true and authentic to us. But we have to become aware of what's there first, and that's through the triggers. That's how
Mm-hmm.
it tells you what's going on
Yes.
back there, right?
Yep.
So, what do you do? What is one of the hardest things that you've moved through? Like, what's one of the most triggering things that
Girl, how many hours you got?
honestly, all of them, but give us one or two juicy, something
Yeah.
that you want to share about what's one of the hardest things that you've faced, moved through, maybe a, past life, whatever shit you've found,
Yeah.
and how has that transformed your life when you moved through it?
Yeah. So I'll give you two ones that are popping up for me. I mean, there's so many. Like I'm going through a
Yeah.
huge journey with my gut right now and all the trauma that I've stored in there, but that's a whole other thing. And I haven't gotten to the end of that
Mm.
one. But
Mm-hmm.
when I started doing the real work on myself, one of the first things that popped up for me was my insane programs of needing a partner. Okay. Like the codependency was real.
Mm.
And it could only have been reflected through this particular person who is now my partner. But when he came into my life, he was also a soul that was on the path, right? And I couldn't believe the way that I was showing up in the first month of when we were talking. It was like I saw things that I couldn't believe. Ellie, you've been like this your entire life with dudes.
Mm.
It was, I need you. Don't leave me. Please be
Mm.
with me. Like it was so intense and it was so hard to finally see that in myself. And it
Mm.
allowed me to see, like, oh my God, I've spent years literally chasing after guys because I
Mm.
wanted that love. I wanted that like, the plethora of things that a lot of us run, right? These
Yeah.
programs of like codependency and neediness and all this stuff. That was a really difficult one for me to go into because I didn't want to look at how gross it was, like in the ways
Mm-hmm.
that I needed this guy to be with me so that I could feel safe, so I could feel loved, so I could feel all these things. And so as I moved through, it's definitely past life stuff for sure. Like there was one life that came up where like I was abandoned as a child, like ripped away from my mom. And so like I always felt this like the longing for this person to be in my life. I knew it was deeper than just like I like you, and it was so much deeper than that, right? So we have to understand that too. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people get caught up in past life stuff. Like, how do I not? It doesn't matter. It's here in this life. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. You don't need to go into all these other lives. It's here in
Yeah.
this life. So
Yeah.
go into where it was created here. Where did it
Yeah.
come up for you here, right?
Yeah. Just
The-
energy.
It's just energy.
Yeah.
The second one was I never knew that I ran a program of entitlement, right?
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
entitlement is disgusting and it's icky. And I used to judge people who ran that
Mhm.
program because I'd be like, oh
Mhm.
my God. And it's like, Ellie, first of all, why are you judging other people? That's your shit. Number one. Number two,
Yeah.
you're judging that because it actually triggers you because you have it. So let's go into where that's hiding your blind spot. Right.
Right.
And so, of course, the universe beautifully gifted me an experience where I had to look at how I showed up like a fucking entitled little piece of shit. And for 3 days, I kid you not, Chelsea, I sat with that little piece of shit entitled girl that was
Mhm.
like, I get what I want. I do whatever I want. You can't tell me anything. I don't follow rules. I make the rules. And it was like, whoa. So for 3 days, I had to sit with how ugly that was, how uncomfortable that was for me to feel. I had to own it. I had to wear it. And I had to radically love and teach
Mhm.
that little girl that we don't show up like this. This
Yeah.
is not okay because when you show up like this, here are the consequences. And the
Mhm.
consequences are not pretty. And
Mhm.
people don't want to be around people like you. And so for 3 days, I just kept opening and opening. And man, it was not comfortable. It's painful to
Mhm.
see the ways that you show up that are so ugly and like
Mhm.
so disrespectful and like entitlement in general is just, yeah. So that was some of the two of the wounds that I really had to go through. That was really like gnarly
Mhm.
for me, right? But then
Yeah.
after those 3 days, I was free because I was willing to own, yeah, I am like that and it's not
Mhm.
okay. And I don't want to be like that at all. And I don't want to show up in the world like
Mhm.
that. And I don't want to disrespect other people. Rules are sacred. Why are you breaking them, Ellie? Right. And so it was all of these things that I had to really look at and face and go into. And when I came out of that, I mean, the lessons and the growth that I experienced were monumental, and it
Mhm.
really showed me like that is where your freedom lies, y'all. Like people don't understand this stuff.
Yeah.
Just own it.
Yeah.
Stop running away from it. And then we do this thing where we shame ourselves. My
I was
teacher
just
gave
gonna
this
say, yes,
my
yes.
teacher gave this incredible teaching the other day. She's like, "Stop with the fucking shame bullshit." She's like, "You guys sit there and you go, "Oh my god, I just saw some truth and I just like I'm just going to go into shame." And it's like and then you get trapped there. Right? And think
Mhm.
of feel the energies in that. It's like I'm a victim. I'm so unworthy. It's like, why are you staying in that? Own
Mhm.
it, see it, radically transform it, and let's move the fuck on. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, because I shame myself. I've done that so
Yeah.
much to myself. And it's like,
Yeah.
why? Just let's go. Just own it.
Mhm. Well, it's
Just go
I
for
would
it.
say it's like an identity trying to protect itself because the shame kind of keeps us in it. So it's like, oh my
Sure.
God, if you see this, if you heal this, if you go through this, like I'm gonna die, you know?
Yes.
And it's not like it's not our heart that's afraid of dying. Again, it's not your
No.
true essence. It's just this
No.
pattern that's like, if
Yes.
I face this, if I feel this, like I'm not going to be safe, I'm going to be alone, whatever the story is from
Yes.
childhood, right? And it's actually so much less dark when you just face it. It's the
Yes.
resistance that makes it so intense and scary and all of, and again, be so gentle with yourself. Compassion, it's a practice. Peace,
Yes.
compassion, love. You can bring this down in through you at any moment to your experience and we become our own therapist and exorcists and all these things like on this journey because you do have to have such a relationship with your emotions, with all parts of you, with the shadows. And I always say this to my community is that, you know, your definition or your meaning or your perception or relationship, whatever works for you, the narrative that you have with these things that come up for you is going to either disempower you or empower you. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
send you on your destiny dream timeline or it's going to keep you in loops.
Yep.
And there's no right or wrong necessarily. It's just what experience do you want to have and what matters
Mm-hmm.
to you and why is it important? And I feel like we've gotten into a lot of that here because when we change ourselves, we do change the world. You
Yeah.
naturally shift the frequency of the planet because you have now become a being that is simply more enlightened, more embodied in unconditional love and who we really are. And you're not running all this shit programming that's contributing to shit on
Yes.
the world, like
Because everything's
the planet.
energy. That's all it is.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
And we need to disidentify more so that we can just be the essence that we want to be and run the conscious programming, like really putting in the programming that you want to have, which kind of happens naturally though. When you connect with
Yeah.
it, when you heal, it's like it's just there. You just
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
right? It's awareness is the greatest superpower.
Oh yeah.
Truly. It
Yeah.
truly,
It's
truly is.
without it, you will not go anywhere. It's the first step.
Yeah.
First step. Yeah. Yeah. Love to touch on this too, like the egoic identities that people love to attach to too,
Mhm.
right? Like in the
Mhm.
spiritual world, like I'm a
Yes.
witch and I'm a healer and I'm a warrior and all of this stuff. And it's like, first of all, guys, you're not a label. like that is nothing of what we are, right?
Mhm.
And my teacher gave this teaching the other day. If you're going to walk around and say that you're these things, make sure that your vibrational frequency matches what you're identifying with. And I was like, hell
Mhm.
yeah. Because most of people, they don't, right? It's
Mhm.
just another mask. It's just another thing. It's just another business. It's just another way to lure
Yeah.
people. And where we're going to and where we're headed is people will no longer be able to fake it and be inauthentic because now we're feeling energy.
Mhm.
Now we can feel and read energy in people. And it's like, that's the old world where you can fake it till you make it, where you can trick
Mhm.
people, where you can manipulate people. As you start to master all of our souls, we came here to master energy. Okay.
Mhm.
So as I start to master my own self, I can feel and read shit in people all the time. So it
Yeah.
doesn't matter the words that are coming in their mouth. I just feel the
Yeah.
frequency of what they're saying and what's behind it. And it's
Yeah.
like, as we start to do, all of us start to do that, you can't, there's nowhere to hide anymore because
Yeah.
energy doesn't lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you brought that up too, and yeah, there's nowhere to hide. And my friend said recently on a different episode how, when we're afraid to be seen, we're just afraid to see ourselves. So when we're hiding, we're really just hiding from ourselves
Oh, yeah.
because your experience of the world is going to be it's going to be a mirror to your experience with yourself. And that has been such a journey for me. This could be a whole episode itself, this topic. Like attachment was one of the things that I was going to reference as one of the hardest things I've had to learn. But
Yeah.
attachment is kind of the opposite of oneness. If you kind of feel into the different energies, it's like
Of
I'm going to
course.
attach and hold on to this thing from a place of separation and illusion and distortion
Yes.
and fear,
Yeah.
or my oneness self, my heart, our heart is connected to everyone else's hearts. It's that place of oneness truly. So the more you come into your heart, the more you just get to be. And I have had to the doing versus being as well is kind of how it's shown up for me in my life, and you know the pressure from maybe people around me or from family of what are you doing and all these questions, and it's just like I've until now felt like I had to have an answer or had to like decide which identity, and I was in chaos and so not okay inside for the whole time. And it's just all the veil coming down now in the sense of like, instead of just being myself behind closed doors or in certain situations,
Yes.
no, I am just me.
24/7.
Exactly. And
Yes.
and I shared it on my story recently too, this photo that was like, what do you do for work? And it's like, I shift the frequency of the planet or something to do with oneness. And I'm like, don't expect another answer because I won't give it. And it just felt so good
Yeah.
to say that. Because no matter what I do, whether it's singing, whether it's the podcast, whether it's a movie, whether it's walking around with my mom, or it doesn't matter what I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's it's always about the frequency. And I've never felt fulfilled. I've never felt at peace, whole, free, any of it unless I've been connected
Yeah.
consciously and intentionally to the frequency of oneness, to my
Yeah.
heart, to why am I even here and why am I doing this, and being in
Yeah.
gratitude and the blessing that it is, and creating from that place of embodiment is so different.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and it brings everyone else into that. It's such a blessing. I always use the
Yeah.
music metaphor as well because I just love to think about life that way, is that, the notes on a piano, like we're all an individual note, and when we tune ourselves, other people can tune to themselves because they can feel what that looks like, what that feels like. We need to become the example and show people what's possible because a lot of us are like walking around in the dark, like I don't even know where to go. There's so much chaos and destruction and darkness happening.
Yeah.
So how do we simplify that? How do we
Mm-hmm.
be the light? How do we show and share, what we've walked through and help other people access that themselves? Because you said earlier, we're not here to play, like it's super serious, but like at the same time, we get to feel good, we get to have joy, we get to
Of
do things that
course.
light us up, right?
Yeah.
That is what we're meant to do. And the more you heal, the more that's going to become your natural
Yes.
life. And for me, within relationship, because that's where a lot of my wounds have been, as it is for everyone in different ways, but the
Yeah.
attachment and the shame and the all of it, the fear of being seen, it was really just me not being connected to my authentic self and
Mm-hmm.
not feeling safe to be her, to be in that. And as I do that, I'm not thinking about what I'm saying. I'm not thinking about what you're thinking of me. And I actually want to talk about judgment in a second because I loved what you had to say about this on Instagram. Um, I'm just being,
Mm-hmm.
it feels so freeing. There's nothing going on inside really. And if there is, then I know there's a wound kind of like
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yep.
floating in there. It's like a little buzz that happens,
Yeah.
and you can,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to sit with that later. And as I've been doing more podcasting too and connecting with people more, there's so much that came up, and I think
Yeah.
I've evolved so much just in like a couple months of it. And yeah, anyways, I digress. But let's talk about judgment for a second, because being seen and being judged, I know we mentioned at the beginning that, how people see us, or the triggers and the projections, that can be a lot to deal with. But um, when it comes to judgment, and you said something beautiful about, in oneness, we're not judging each other. We're just
Yeah.
existing and we're
Yes.
expressing, and someone who's running that program is, in their own shit. So how do you kind of
Yep.
move through that with yourself or with others?
Yep. So in the old world, we have all mastered separation consciousness, right? And separation is an illusion, right? But we've all been conditioned to believe that we're all in separation, right? And so in separation consciousness, which is duality, which is the patriarchy, think about all the programs that are there, right? When you're separate, you're judging other people, right? So there's the judgment program. We all run it.
Hmm.
And I'm going to talk about my teacher a lot because I mean, she's my teacher and she teaches me so much, but she gave this one example of like when you have two strawberries in front of you and the first one isn't as good as the second one, and you go, oh, it wasn't as good as the second one, you're judging. You're running a program of judgment on the first strawberry. And I was like, oh my God, I'm constantly running this program, right?
Right.
And all we do, right, because we're so riddled with really low frequencies, is the constant judgment of everybody else, constantly
Hmm.
tearing somebody down. And when you're actually running a program of judgment, you're also running a program of superiority, saying, I'm above you and you're below me, right? And it wasn't until I started being around my teacher, who was at a much higher frequency, where I started to see what it's like to be around somebody that doesn't run that program.
Hmm.
Because when we actually become the truth of who we are, that frequency, it will be nowhere fucking near us because we will be in oneness consciousness. And in oneness consciousness, there are no programs of separation, right?
Hmm.
And so I know judgment is a thing that we all have to work on. I have to work on it constantly,
Yeah.
constantly. And I'll catch it when it's running like, Ellie, open, because this is so unloving. And
Yeah.
who the fuck are you to judge anybody? And if you're judging them, what are they showing you that's
Hmm.
within you that you need to go into?
Yeah.
And that in itself is it's so beautiful and it's so humbling. And it's also something that we all need to actively alchemize because when you're in judgment, you are completely disconnected. You are
Hmm.
disconnected because you are me and I am you.
Hmm.
And all the other plethora of cousins to that program, they're
Yeah.
all ugly, they're all icky, they're all gross. We got to go in, we got to do the work.
Hmm. Yeah, and we've normalized the being disconnected, or we're familiar with that feeling
Yeah.
from our lives before, and it may feel uncomfortable at first to be so connected, because again, it's going to bring a ton of emotion up, it's going to bring you into your heart, and you're going to have to feel through things and remind yourself, I'm not these things, but these
Hmm.
programs are no longer going to hold me hostage. They're not going to
Hmm.
control my life. I don't want to feel this way. And there is always a way through it. And judgment it always invites us into wisdom. It always invites us into that oneness connection if we open. And you said
Yeah.
that. Open, open, open.
Yes.
Because there's always something new for us to see. In
Yes.
numerology, the bridge is actually that openness, that acceptance that goes from basically the judgment, when the six is blocked, into the seven, which is the wisdom, which leads to the
Mm-hmm.
unity and the higher consciousness. And so that is, it works every time, y'all. It's
Yeah.
magic. It's
Yeah.
truly magic
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
apply this stuff to your experience. And yeah, judgment is just, you said something about the entitlement too. I wanted to come back to,
Hmm.
um it reminded me, because when you were noticing all of this with the entitlement, what
Hmm.
did you say, or what did you show that part of you, that younger self, to do instead? Like, what did you kind of contrast that with? What truth did you bring to almost replace or rewire um, your consciousness? You know what I mean? What did
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
bring to her?
So it's first seeing where this energy was created.
Hmm.
Why did I become an entitled little shit? You know? And
Yeah.
it was first about owning it, right? She had to own the fact that because I created it when I was probably around like 12 years old, when I started learning, like, oh, I can get what I want and I know how to be manipulative and entitled,
Mm.
right? So
Mm.
it's first showing her this is, look at it, see it for where it was birthed.
Right.
You see it all, own it. It doesn't feel good, right? No, it doesn't. Okay. So let's just open to it. When you open to it and you bring love to it, love
Hmm.
is the truth of what you are energetically alchemizes anything that's low. That's
Yes.
just what it is. Okay. And as I started to go into that, all of a sudden,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, why did I create entitlement? And then I had to go into, well, I had a dad that was permissive. He let me get away with a lot of stuff. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, it was just taking me deeper and deeper into layers. And every layer I went into, I just opened and alchemized. I just kept
Mm-hmm.
alchemizing whatever wound, whatever programs, whatever. I just kept opening to all of it, owning it, opening, loving it, and finding my power in all of it. So
Yeah.
that's the work that I do around all of
Mm.
that. Yeah. Opening up to the entitlement and really we have to be able to feel the depths of that energy. We have
Mm-hmm.
to. But you have to do it from an open place. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not meeting the entitlement with judgment and shame and why are you fucking like
Yes.
this and bringing it down. It's about,
Yes.
oh, this is here. This is really gnarly. This is uncomfortable. Let me open to you. It's okay. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
love you. I don't want you to exist in my fields anymore. So let me just bring all that I am to it.
Yes, and
Yeah.
when you do that in your own field, you naturally are going to feel that way about other people who are in their shit as well. You're not going to come at them. You're not going to judge
Yes.
them. You're not going to attack them. You're not going to be like, oh, this person needs to change and do this and do that.
Yes.
No,
Yep.
no, you change your perspective. You change what's happening in you, and then watch how you see them differently and watch what happens to them because now your presence is different. It
Yes.
really does change things. It does change people. It works every goddamn time. Speaking to oneness, the more we come into that oneness frequency, there's a lot of stuff out there in the spiritual language and the spiritual world, and I just want to speak to something that's been really clarifying and really grounding for me when it comes to oneness. It doesn't mean you don't have boundaries. It doesn't mean that you
Of
are just
course.
like everything and everyone like
No.
floating. No, like when
No.
you come into oneness and your heart, you have so many boundaries naturally because you are an individual. And I
Yes.
like that word, not independent, but individual, because we get to feel so connected to people in our individuality, and interdependent, healthy relationships come from being in the heart, being
Hmm.
conscious, taking responsibility for ourselves, and then
Yeah.
getting to co-create with people from that space. And what we can create as humans, our day, just our day that we get to experience, how we can talk to people, the art we can create, my God. We just need to come from, not need to, get to, whatever
Mhm.
language you prefer in the moment. It can change. We get to choose that. We get to live that way. We get to create a world that feels like that. And that's what we're here for. That's what's happening on the planet right now. So
Yeah.
I wanted to speak to that because the boundary
Yep.
thing, it comes up.
Yep.
And it's been a lesson for me too, and just
Oh yeah.
learning that boundaries actually get easier when you honor who you are.
Yeah. And boundaries when it comes from power.
Yes.
I've tried to create boundaries when I thought that I was in my power and I wasn't.
In fear, yes.
Yep. And energetically, everybody, even
Doesn't
if
work.
they're not conscious of it, they feel it, right? So when people break a boundary, well, what energy did you make that boundary from, right?
Resistance.
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Yeah.
so boundaries are crucial. Like
Hmm.
that, boundaries are a form of self-love.
Yeah.
It's here's a boundary
Mm,
and you cannot break this. Feel the
right.
energy of it, right? It comes from complete power. And so
Hmm.
I love that you brought that up. And what I was going to touch upon, and because my friend and I were speaking about this yesterday, and the whole thing that she's moving through in her life right now is if on a scale from 1 to 10, right? Let's just call it
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
Vibrationally, she's at a 6, right? She's healing herself, she's transforming, she's evolving, but everyone else in around her life is a 3. Okay.
Mm.
So they're vibrating a very low level of consciousness, right? Her whole thing is that when she's around threes, she's not powerful yet to remain the 6 that she is, right? So
Mm.
what a lot of us do is that we go down to being a 3. And then because we run programs of people pleasing or I don't want
Yes.
people to think all
Oh,
this stuff, right?
yeah.
We go down to that level and in fact when you do that, you
Mm.
are harming everyone else and yourself the most when you're doing that.
Yeah. Hmm.
Instead of when I'm around a 3, here's where I need to, where my lessons are to be what I am and be solid in that. And
Yes.
if people don't like that or people don't agree with it, well, what does it bring up in me? And what do I need to alchemize as a result of that?
Yeah.
Right? The moment we go down to that, you've just lost it. Yeah, like what are you doing? And where are you at? Because
It's not going to be
that's not the
good.
work, right? And I think a lot of people get confused. Well, I don't want them to think I'm judging me and blah blah blah. Well, what frequencies are you vibrating at right now that you think that that's going to happen? Because that's your shit to own
Right.
and go into,
Yeah.
right? As we become the 6s and the 7s and the 8s and we're around people at a lower level of consciousness, we must be what they choose to be or not, right? So, for
Mhm.
example, when I'm around my teacher, her energetic fields shine a light on all of my shit.
Mhm.
And it allows me to see so fuck. I have never met anybody in my life where when I'm around them, I see all of my shit. It's insane.
Yeah.
And this is what we're going to do to many people. And many people, because they're so unconscious, they're going to hate you. They're going to, I mean, the amount of people that don't like me because just of what I speak about, or even just my energetic field. And listen, I'm nowhere near fucking high, but I'm definitely at some, upper levels than a lot of people in the old world, right? Just because I do the work.
Mhm.
But when they don't like it, all of a sudden you're the issue and you're the bitch and you're the problem and you're this, and they'll project on you and they'll hate you and they'll try to destroy you and they'll try to tear you down, right? They're going to be those people. There are going to be other people that are going to be around you who go, whoa, I didn't know that I showed up like that. When
Mhm.
I'm around her, I can see all my programs. I go home and I go into that stuff. Like I really go into that stuff because it allows me to see what I'm still running and where I'm still at. And it is so humbling and I'm so in gratitude for it because I don't want to be like that. I
Mhm.
don't want to show up like that. I don't want that in my fields anymore. And so, what a disservice we do to people's lower levels of consciousness when we are disconnected from our power.
Mhm.
Like we must be that anchor when we are around those frequencies so that they have the choice to go into some of their stuff and to also get to see, like, man, like, yes, that's where I want to get to and
Yeah.
beyond.
Yeah. Yeah, and we only resist it, if we're kind of running a mirror in ourselves of what maybe we're afraid they're going to feel. There's
Yeah.
something, like you said, for us to own, and when we bring love to something, that love is so powerful, and when you set boundaries from love, it's so massively of service to people. Just the way
Yes.
people are going to receive it. It's not your business. You don't need to get into everyone's shit. You just need to stay in your lane, stay in your center, be
Yeah.
yourself, radiate, know who you are, have
Mm,
support and reflections that are honest with you, that you trust, that also remind you of who you are in your light in their presence. And then that stuff gets easier. It's a game. We're kind of, we're walking through it, chop wood, carry water, like one step at a time.
yeah.
Um, Higher levels of consciousness, it doesn't mean you're out of body either. It doesn't mean like, oh,
No,
floating. It's
you're
the
so
opposite.
grounded.
It
You're
means you're
so
so
grounded.
in the body and you're just
Yes.
looking and feeling from a
Yes.
clearer, more unconditionally loving space. And it's the best feeling, you guys.
Yeah.
It's the best feeling. It's so worth it. All the shit, and I'm sure you can say the same, all the hell I've walked through, it's
Yeah.
fucking worth it. And boy, am I gonna create some epic shit with what I've alchemized.
Yeah.
It's worth it. And your
Yeah.
journey it's unfolding the way it's meant to. It's all
Yes.
perfect and part of it, as messy as it can be. Do you want to say
Yes.
any words on that? Because I know that's like,
Yeah. There
yeah.
was a teaching that I listened to today, and she was saying we tend to look at all of these things that we experience in our life that bring up so much pain as failures, right? So, for example, let's say you just had a relationship with a narcissist, 15 years, right? Of just complete narcissism, complete abuse. And a lot of people, when they walk out of that and they leave that, they go, like, what a failure I was to be in that for so long. And her
Mm,
teaching was that was a success because
yeah.
you learned so much from that. And then you chose to choose yourself and walk away. That is a success. And we must look at everything, every ball that is thrown at us, as not something as why is this happening to me? What is this experience? Who are you meant to become as you move through this experience? What are you meant to learn? What are you meant to gain? And who are you meant to evolve into after and through this experience? And when we start to approach life like that, everything will shift because now you're not a victim to your reality. You are the creator of your reality. Legit, on a quantum level, we all
Mhm.
create what we experience.
Yeah.
So, what do you want to create when you start to see what you don't like and what you keep creating?
Oh, when we become more conscious, you're gonna
Yes.
realize that you are creating everything.
Yes,
Did it for a
everything.
reason. And
Yes.
I'm so happy that you brought that forward and that we get to end on this note. I think this is a really strong, powerful end on note. Um, because we do go through so many things and they can feel like shit and they can be hard and they can happen for a long time. And, you know, we'll always get to this point of choice where you get to reclaim everything. You get to reclaim your energy, you get to reclaim your beliefs, you get to reclaim your power and decide what that's going to mean to you when you go through so much. Look for what you learned. I always say to my community, look for the 1% change that happens.
Yes.
instead of all the stuff you might still be feeling.
Yes.
What's different right now about this situation? What's different today? That's
Mm-hmm.
it. And especially when there's a lot of chaos going on, I've really implemented that myself of what's that 1% that's clear, that feels like love, that, moving towards that truth and that light and letting myself integrate and bring all these other aspects of things into that timeline that I know that I choose, because that is
Yeah.
simply what's true. And
Mm-hmm.
it's so powerful and important to see that. I'm so happy you said that because I honestly needed to hear that today too. I needed that reminder.
Yeah.
And I love how you said, I learned all of this. I put myself in this situation intentionally, and now I'm choosing myself. And I'm going from this place in a grounded and embodied way into what feels more true, not from resistance, but from a place of true, authentic, heart-centered love and choosing myself and what brings me joy, which is going to be the best thing for everybody. And sometimes we need to go through some
Of
stuff and some
course.
lessons to get to that place where we can choose ourselves and be confident in who we actually are, and
Yes.
just cleanse, all of
Oh,
the
yeah.
false identities that we used to be in. So really powerful note to end on. Thank you for sharing that. And I always ask this at the end of the podcast, and I know that you believe that, our own embodiment changes the world that we live in. So in that, from your perspective, from your embodiment of that new earth, of that oneness consciousness, what is a message that you want to share, leave with the world, leave with everyone listening today, from that new earth?
We have created a planet and a world that has been so appalling and abusive and horrific. We've done so much damage to one another, to nature, to Mother Earth, to animals, to all beings. And if there's anybody that you love in this world, and that could be your dog, it could be your mom, it could be the tree outside of your home, do the work inside of yourself to create a world where every living, breathing thing can exist here and feel completely safe.
Mm,
I walk this path to leave this planet a safer place for children and for animals.
mm,
There's too much horrifying, tragic things here. And we have created this, and it is now time for us to create something new. And a lot of people think that New Earth is a physical place that we go to. No, New Earth is what you become vibrationally.
yeah.
So do it for the world that you would want your child, you won't want your dog, you would want your mom to live in every single day. Like, that's what I came here to do, and that's what I came here to achieve. And that all starts within me.
Mm, breathing that one in, letting it land all the way in. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, wow. That really hit. That really
Yeah.
landed. And I feel like you have such a gift in how you share so clearly and from your heart that I think anyone listening to that is really going to receive what you
Mhm.
just said and be able to take that on in a new way and really
Yeah.
see the world differently by seeing how valuable and important they actually are in creating what we want to see, that we
Yes.
truly have to bring love to every part of ourselves if we don't want to see that tragedy and that
Yes.
destruction anymore.
Yes.
I do believe in a world where things do not have to be as traumatic and
Yep.
destructive in order for us to know love. That's all we're doing is we're being asked to come back to love, back to our hearts, back to good orderly direction, the natural order. And it's possible. It's real. And there's lots of us experiencing that already. And we
Yep.
want to help everyone else do it if they want to. They can also
Yes.
choose it, right?
Yes.
And we can just have
Absolutely.
the best time. So thank you. I'm so grateful for this conversation. It was so
Thank
much fun to
you.
talk with you. Before we close out, can you just tell everyone how to connect with you, anything you
Yep.
offer, anything you want to share about yourself for those who are inspired by you?
Yeah, so you can find me on TikTok and Instagram at Ellie YJ Lee. And I am a mystical coach of oneness, and I'm also a student at a metaphysical university called Master Self University. So, for those of you out there who are interested in becoming a being of oneness consciousness, the classes that you'll take are insane. So, if you are interested in that, you can just click the link in my bio and register, and I will see you in class.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ellie. It was such a blessing.
Thank you, Chelsea.
You. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of The Bridge. You are so valued and appreciated here, and I hope it helped bring light, love, clarity, and healing to your journey of remembering who you are. If you'd like to share feedback, have questions, want to collaborate, or request for a specific guest or episode topic, you can email us at the email below. To connect with us on socials or to work with me one-on-one, you can head to the social medias in the description below. If you'd like to donate to support our mission to share love, peace, and unity on this planet, you will find a link for that as well. You can always reach out via email to ask us how you can support what we are currently doing in the world. If there is someone you feel inspired to directly support, please let us know and we will share their story in one of our episodes. Remember, together we are better and truly can do so much. Now it's that time. Go live this new wisdom you received here in your life. Share it, integrate it, pass it on. Your ripples are powerful and needed, and you have a unique way of sharing and being that only you can be. As always, take what resonates for you and leave the rest. You are sovereign. You are the magic wand. You are the bridge to experiencing the world that you want. You are the conductor of your destiny. See it, choose it, speak it, feel it, believe it, know it, and go be it. Remember, it always starts with you. The universe is always on your side, and you are infinite. One love, and we'll see you in the next one.